So if you're keto or zero sugar or any of those no sugar, no corn syrup diets, and you eat stuff like this and jalapeno poppers, no, you're not. They have corn syrup and sugar and all kinds of stuff, so let's make it without that. So I started off my homemade sausage first time attempt by actually trimming off all the fat from what I had asked was just pork fat from our little tiny grocery store. And the guy gave me basically a package of pork that had more pork than fat. So because I need the fat off to process a deer that I also have in my freezer, which I will do hopefully soon, maybe the next couple weeks, I trimmed pretty much as much fat off of all of this pork. He gave me 2 packages. It was like 99 cents a pound. And then I also have like a pork shoulder roast that I trimmed off all the fat because I needed more fat for my deer. So my breakfast sausage does not have very much fat in it. It will be cooked in oil. It does not have the consistency of like oily breakfast sausage like you see in the store. And there's nothing added to it. So that's also why this is pure, just pork and seasonings. So that's a big difference that you'll see making it homemade. So I started, like I said, by trimming off so much fat, and then I borrowed this meat grinder from Justin's parents, and when I push it through, I kind of tend to, even though I clean it really well, tend to throw this first little tiny bit away, so that if there is anything that didn't quite come off or that might be in the blade or something, it gets tossed out. So step 1, this was the day before I mixed all my seasonings. I cut it into cubes. Then I sent it through the grinder, and after everything was all ground up, which the grinding part did not take that long, it was really the trimming of the fat and cubing everything up that took the most time in this entire process. So after I ground everything up, I just stuck it back in these gallon bags and I put it back into the refrigerator until I was ready to add all of the seasonings and whatnot that made this from just ground pork to actual like breakfast sausage. So I ended up getting 7 or 8 pounds from the pork roast as well as this other pork that I thought was just going to be fat. So we have enough sausage, because we really don't eat it that often, to last us a long time. So when making breakfast sausage, is kind of like a trial and error with flavors and taste and kind of how you like it. But what I found to be the best ratio for this one, after adding seasonings and cooking a little bit, was per 1 pound of ground pork, I did about 3/4 to 1 teaspoon of dry sage. Not super precise on any of these. 1 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 1/4 teaspoon of coarse salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 3/4 teaspoons of cayenne. This is what I would consider to be mild, so if you want it more spicy, just add more cayenne pepper. And then 1/8 of a teaspoon of cloves and 1 teaspoon of honey. So this is like 3 pounds of pork that I'm working with here. So when I added a whole bunch more seasonings than what I just read off, that's why. To get all of the spices mixed together, I first went in with like my hand mixer with dough hook attachments on it, which you could use just regular like hand mixer attachments to kind of get everything broken up initially. And then I went in with my hands, of course, washed first, and continued mixing until everything was completely and totally mixed together. And then the way that I'm going to store this is the way that I store all of our kind of like home processed meat. Is I have a food saver. I do 8-ounce packages just because the only thing that I really put breakfast sausage in is jalapeno poppers, or if I want sausage for breakfast, and maybe a potato soup someday in the future. But 8-ounce packages, food saver. I wrote on it what it was, 8 ounces, and then the date, or just January 2025, and then put it into the package. I kind of squish it down just a little bit, try and get it as flat kind of as I can before I vacuum seal and seal it up. This helps keep it in the freezer much, much better. There's not ice that gets on it or freezer burn or anything, and that's it. Homemade breakfast sausage.